legends, how are you all going? PKT here. Today we are going to discuss Kaido OP02 deck, the OP02 cards that are purple and their abilities. Already gone ahead and added the couple of OP02 cards in there. We'll talk about all the OP02 cards for purple. We'll talk about what's in the deck already. If you guys have any opinions, any ideas, or think there's other cards that I could replace and put in the deck, comment down below. More than happy to listen to everyone's opinion. Make sure to smash that like button. And if you guys aren't already subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button. It'll keep you up to date with all the videos that I upload. And all the One Piece stuff as well. So, let's start off with, I don't know what's his ability, because the card's not English. But we'll go to Z. So, Z is Film and Neo Navy. -4 Don KO up to one of your character's opponent's cards with 3 costs or less. Then this leader gains 1,000 power during the turn. It's not a bad leader. He has 4 life because he is a dual colour. But don't let that dishearten you. Having 4 life on a leader isn't always a bad thing. They have a crazy ability when you can actually play between the 2 colours. So we have Sadie. On playability, play up to 1 Jailer Beast type character card from your hand. It's not bad. And it's a 2k counter. We have a 1k counter, which is Cell Death. Your Bugari gains blocker, so I'm guessing having this card on board with that other card, the name of that other card, it gains a blocker effect with having that card on the board. Shishkai, he's also a 2k counter, 2 costs 3k body. That's not too bad. Trigger -1 Don to play this card. That's probably not the best part about it, is the trigger. I don't see -1 Don the positive effect that's going to have on your gameplay. Especially when there's better cards you can do that with. We have Shuru. Sorry if I'm butchering these names. I'm still watching One Piece. I think I'm up to like 140 episode now. Episode 140. So on playability, here's a 1k counter, -1 Don, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 1 cost less. So I probably wouldn't put this card in the deck. It's just doesn't feel right. -1 Don to KO 1 of your opponent's cards, and it's a 4 cost 5k body just to get rid of a 1 cost. I don't see that as being effective. We have Solitaire. So she's a vanilla card, as they call it. She's a 3 cost 5k body, and she's a 1k counter. So she has no ability. She's just plays straight to the board. We have the 3 costs Deifugu. -2 Don, play up to 1 smiley card type character card other than this card with the 3 costs or less from your hand. So essentially it's the same as Ulti and Page. So Ulti is pretty good with alongside Page, which we'll get into the description of those cards after we go through the OP02 stuff. Once we've gone through the OP02 stuff, the stuff up above is my deck that I'll be playing. And if you guys feel that I could change it up a bit, comment down below, and more than happy to, in one of my live streams, change it up a little bit and see how it works. We have a 5 cost 6k body, Douglas Bullet. He is a 1k counter. -1 Don, back to the Don deck, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a 4 cost or less, which resting isn't too bad. I like the KO effect. To instantly KO something off board without them having a chance of saving it is amazing. I mean, you kind of want them to play out their counters and lower their hand count, but KOing, you just get rid of it straight away. This is a 2-cost 4k body. Dubin. He is a 1k counter. We have the 2-drop 2-cost of the 2-cost 2k body blocker, and she's also a 1000 counter. Dynamo. It's not a bad looking card. Now we've got this one. I don't know how to say its name, but it's an 8-cost 8k body. Now on the card it says -1 Don back to the deck, and this card gains 792,000 power during this turn. So this card actually got a -8 Don back to the deck on the sim. So I think that's definitely a misprint. So that's an activate main. So that means I'm pretty sure that means like a once per turn thing. It's an insane card. Not too sure about putting one in the deck. I don't know how it'd run. We have Hanyabu. So he's a 1-cost 2k body, and he's also a 1k counter. On play, look at the top 5 cards. Look at the 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 purple impel down type character other than this card, and add it to your hand. Then place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. So if there's a card with the same name as this one here, you can't play it out. You can't take it. If there's a card that doesn't have the same name, go right ahead. You can take that card. So we've got another vanilla. So this is the one that becomes a blocker with the other card, with this card. So you've got to have this card on board to make this one a blocker. So this one's a 1-cost 3k, which isn't too bad, and it's also a counter power of 1,000. So it's not a bad card for a vanilla. If you play them two alongside with it, this one, it'll become a blocker. Magellan, 5-cost 6-drop. Now this card is really good to knock your opponent's Don back to their deck, especially if they're not purple, or they can't use Island. So on play, -1 Don, your opponent returns one of their Don cards on the field back to their Don deck. Opponent's turn, when this character is KO'd, your opponent returns 2 of their Don cards on the field back to their Don deck. So you're potentially taking their Don away from them if they attack this one, which you want them to attack. You want to knock down their Don, so then they don't have full Don and have half a chance of winning. That's a good card. We have a 4-cost 5k blocker. So on KO, if your leader has impel down type, add 1 Don card from your deck and rest it. Now there's a double attack card. This is a 4-cost 5k counter. Oh, it's a 1k counter, but it's 4-cost 5k body. On KO, if your leader has impel down type, add 1 Don from your Don deck and rest it. This is a 4-cost 6k body with a 1k counter, and it's Sphinx. So I reckon that's an alright card as a vanilla. But this next card, guys, I think it's crazy. I just don't know how well it would work. So you're -2 Don on play. Your leader and all your characters gain 1,000 power until the start of your next turn. So it is good in the sense of you're bumping your power up 1,000. So then it makes it a little bit harder for your opponent to juggle all their Don to try and take out your leader, take out any characters. They've got to think and be very more mindful on how they're going to place their Don. So it's not too bad, especially if you had 2 on board. It would be pretty sick. Like, you can't play 2 down at the same time, but it'd be cool if you could. We're up to the event cards now. So Hell's Judgment count. So this is a counter. So you got to keep 2 Don active. So you pay your 2 Don, you -1 back to the deck, and this one gives you up to 2 of your opponent's leaders or characters -3,000 power during this turn. So this card is actually pretty decent. So if your opponent's at 6 and you minus 2 cards, back to 3k, they're going to try and buffer out of it. Especially if they don't have a blocker, they're going to try and buffer out of it. So it's pretty good. Hydra. This is the main. So you pay 1 and give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 3,000 power during the turn. Also forgot to mention there's trigger on both, and they're both the same trigger. If your opponent has 6 or more Don cards, your opponent returns one of their Don cards to their Don deck. So that's not too bad. And I think you can actually make them pick. I'm not 100% sure on the proper ruling on that part of this card. But it'd be pretty cool if you could pick an active one to put back to their deck, because I'd hate that. This is a 3 cost. Add up to 1 Don card from your Don deck and set it as active. And it has the same trigger effect as well. And lastly, this card is a stage card. So it's like Onigashima Island. So activate main, you may trash one card from your hand and rest this stage. Look at 3 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 impelled down type character card and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck. So they're good cards, but I don't like the idea of filtering through the deck in that perspective, just in case you do take a card that you really need that's coming up. You look at the top 3 or the top 5 cards with some of those, with the 2 cards, you've lost it. You got to put it to the bottom of the deck. Could be game. So what we've got in the deck is our Kaido deck. We've got 2 10-drop Kaidos. So you're minus 6 on play. If your leader has the Animal Kingdom Pirates type, KO all characters other than this one. So you KO both your opponent's board and your board, but your 10-drop Kaido stays, or 10 cost. A lot of people say drop rather than cost, so you might hear me say drop quite a lot. We've got the 7-drop King. Your on-play ability is your minus 2, KO one of your opponent's characters with 3 costs or less, and one of your opponent's characters with the 2 costs or less. Now this card is alright. I haven't got 4 of him, I've only got 2. He protects this blocker. So this blocker, if you go to block an attack when it's your opponent's turn, you rest this blocker, it won't be KO'd because this card stops it from being KO'd. So it's a pretty decent card. We've got Sasuke. So he's a 2k counter. He's a 3 cost 4k body. When attacking, you put 1 Don underneath him. You may trash 1 card from your hand and add 1 Don card from your Don deck and rest it. It's not too bad. If you haven't got Onigashima Island out, this is probably one of the ways you want to try and get your Don out fast. We've got X-Drake. He is a 5 cost 5k body. He is also a 2k counter. So minus 1 Don, and so back to the Don deck. Your opponent trashes one of the cards from their hand. So it's situational. You can choose to use this card to either counter out of an attack, or you play the card down to start minusing cards out of your opponent's hand. So it's, very situational. We've got Magellan. His on-play ability, which we've already spoke about, is you minus 1 Don and it returns one of your opponent returns one of their Don cards back to the deck from the field, one of your opponent's cards. I said that's so bad. So it returns one of the opponent's Don from the field back to the deck. That's better. We've got Ulti. So she's a 2k counter, 4 cost 5k body. Her on-play ability is you minus 1 Don back to the deck, play 1 page 1 card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So that's why there's 2 page 1 cards in here. This one is my favourite. So this is a 9 cost 10k body Kaido. You minus 5 Don back to the Don deck, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a 6 cost or less. This character gains rush during this turn. So not only do you clear a 6 cost or less off board, you can swing a 10k attack into the lead or a character if need be. So it's a pretty good card. We've got Queen. He, not she. He. He is a 5 cost 6k body. He's also a 1k counter. He's a blocker. But his on-play ability is you -1 Don back to the Don deck, draw 2 cards, trash 1. So it's pretty decent. Now, we've got Who's Who. This is an absolute crazy trigger card. So if you can get this in your life when you take a life, this is absolutely insane to have. On play, -1 Don, KO one of your characters. So you -1 Don back to the deck. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3 costs less. The trigger is to play the card. And it's a 3 cost 3k body. We've got 3 Black Marias, which are a 2 cost 2k body. So she's a blocker. We've got Page 1, which is for ulti. So Page 1 is a vanilla card. He's a 4 cost 6k and 1000 counter power. We have a 4 cost 5k Uta. So we have 2 of these blockers. So on block, -1 Don and rest up to one of your opponent's characters with 6 costs or less. So she's out of the film deck. Douglas Bullet. This one's also out of the film deck. Activate main once per turn. -4 Don. Rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters with 6 costs or less. Then this character gains double attack. So on play, you play Douglas Bullet down for 8. You can -4 Don back to the deck straight up. Rest two of your opponent's cards, mainly blockers, and take a swing for a double attack. So it's a really good card. I've only got 1 in there. I did have 2, but I want to see how 1 goes. Like, it's a situational card. You know what I mean? Like, you don't always need to play it, but it's good to have it there. We've got 2 Hell's Judgment, which we spoke about this one. It's -1 Don on counter. Give up to 2 of your opponent's leaders characters -3000 during the turn. And it's a 2 cost, so it's an event card. Its trigger is if your opponent has 6 or more Don cards, your opponent returns one of their Don cards to their deck. We have Blast Breath, which this is out of the starter deck. So it's a counter, it's a 1 cost, and you -1 Don back to the deck, and your leader or character gains up to 4000 power during this battle. And lastly, we have Onigashima Island. Activate main is you may rest this stage if your leader has the Animal Kingdom's pirate type. Add 1 Don card from your Don deck and rest it. And it's a 3 cost. So you really need that one in there with all the minusing in these cards. So that's what I've got together at the moment for OP02. There's not a lot of OP02 cards in there. But if you guys think there is some better cards that I can put in there that are OP02, as I said at the start of the video, leave a comment down below. Make sure to smash that like button. If you haven't already subscribed, click the subscribe button. Smash the notification bells on too. That way you can stay up to date with all my content. And as I always say, I'll see you on the next one.